Today we're going to be talking about ClassIn 6.0, which is the new updated version of ClassIn. I say new, but it's been out for about a year, and it's taken me quite a while to do a video on it because I've been praying to the online teaching gods that they'll update it, that they'll make it less janky and maybe add more features that are for online teachers and just be overall more helpful. I was also hoping for a little more stability in the lessons because a lot of teachers have been complaining that the classroom shuts down or they have the student's camera turns off. There are a lot of problems that I was hoping that they'd fixed, but after a year, they haven't really done much. So let's start with the number one most popular question. What is ClassIn and who is it for? ClassIn is an app that we use to teach students online. It was made for teachers in China to use on smart blackboards. That was the original function of it. And then during 2020, because of COVID, a lot of teachers switched online to using ClassIn as their main platform for online teaching. This video is going to be for the general use of ClassIn. And what I mean by general use is the things that teachers use on the daily, day-to-day stuff. I'm not going to go into the most advanced things, and there's a lot of fluff content, and if I add that in, this video is going to be 3 hours long. I want it to be simple, as quick as possible. So comment below if you want me to add that in, and I will in a separate video. But yeah, for the most part, I just want this video to be instructional and easy to use. Right, next question. Do you need to pay to use ClassIn? Well, the answer is yes. If you're an independent teacher, you're gonna have to pay for it because it offers you a free version, but that free version isn't really great. So if we take a look at the free version over here, you can see that you get 10 free lessons per month and you get 5 gigs of storage. Now, let me just tell you, 10 free lessons per month is not a lot. You're kind of hoping, for the most part, most teachers are going to be doing way more than 10 free lessons. Some of our teachers average about 120 lessons a month. And then 5 gigs of storage that can easily be used. I mean, 5 gigs of storage is maybe 6 or 7 videos. So at some point, you're going to need to upgrade. Most teachers who are using ClassIn are going to be working for a company. That company pays for ClassIn, and all the features will be available to you. Now, the free version is also lacking on things like your AI companion. Not to say that the AI companion is great, but the truth is that there are some great tools that it provides that we can use. You're probably wondering, should you pay for ClassIn? Yes. If you have a large student base and you're looking to be more professional, as opposed to using things like Google Meets or Zoom, I would 100% recommend paying for your classes. Once you've paid, it gives you a whole new level of tools that you can use. And if we're talking about being professional teachers, that's kind of what you want. But if you're just starting out, I wouldn't bother. I would rather stick to using free platforms until you've built your student base. Right, and with that being said, let's get to what you came here for. So as you open up your class, and you'll see that it's pretty empty. No classes, no students, it's bare. So let's take a look at some of the basic navigation. At the very top over here, you've got a search bar where you can search for your lessons once you have some. This drop-down tool over here that doesn't work now because we have no lessons, but I'll show you in a couple of minutes what it usually looks like. But here you can have a quick overview of the lessons that you have for that day. If we click on this plus sign, we can add contacts, we can join classes, and we can join public lessons. We've got our refresh button here at the top. If we feel like our ClassIn hasn't loaded a class, then we can click the refresh button. Then moving down, over here we've got new class. If we click on new class, we can create a new class, which I'll do for you in a second. And then we can also create a new public lesson. Now, a public lesson is open to anyone, so they can join it. And as you can see over here, it says that the free plan only offers 40 minutes for every lesson. Once you've paid, you can set the time for your lessons. I will let you know now that ClassIn charges you per student and per hour. So if you have one student for, let's say, an hour, there's a certain rate. Once you go over an hour, the rates that you pay per class is increased. And once you add more students, the rate increases exponentially. Then over here on this homepage, you can see again, we've got the same thing. New class, join lesson. It's basically these two things over here. We can see the classes that we're involved in as teachers, the classes we're involved in as students, pending classes that are still waiting approval, and classes that we've ended. So as an example, let's go over here and create a new class. Let's call it Sean's class, and then click create and enter. It's going to take you to this page, but let's go back for a second and see what it looks like on the home screen. Now you can see we've got a little floating icon. I want you to imagine what you're seeing right now on a tablet, right? Or an iPad. If it was on a tablet or an iPad and you only had the screen, it would be really useful. This is where you would navigate to your classes. But the truth is that since most of us are using desktops, I hope, because they're more reliable, what we usually do is we work off of this screen over here, the chat screen. Now the chat screen is great because this is where we communicate with our students, and we can also see our classes. If I click on the class over here, you can see now I can chat with my students, I can enter the class. Most of this doesn't really make a whole bunch of sense, but let's transform our ClassIn from beginner to advanced. Now you can see that there is a whole bunch more going on. This tab at the top, if we click on it, drops down and it can show us all the lessons that we have scheduled for today. If we go to our chat box here, you can see that there are a whole bunch of messages that have come in from students and teachers and classes. And our chat box is a lot more full. If we click on a specific chat, let's say, for example, we click on this chat over here, you can see that I've been communicating with the students and sent them videos and messages, right? This is where you do all of your general communication. At the bottom over here, you can type your messages. You can send students emojis. You can add them if you're in a group of students. You can do a screenshot of something either on the screen like this by clicking and dragging and then selecting OK, or you can screenshot and hide the current window. So if I click this, it will show you what's behind. Then we've got our files. Here we can send files to our students, which we'll get to in a second. We can share contacts with our students. So any of the contacts that we have, we can share with them. And then we can start a temporary classroom, which again, we'll get to in a couple of minutes. From there, we can navigate up to enter class. Now, as we see enter class, it might look like a whole bunch of stuff that could be completely overcomplicated and might leave us feeling quite frustrated. But there are really only two things you need to worry about here. The first being lessons. If we click on lessons, we can see how many lessons we have with our students. So for example, with this student, Eric, he only has one lesson left and he's had 34 lessons. If I want to, I can click on teaching reports over here. So if I go here and I click on teaching reports, I can see all the information about the previous lesson that I had with the students. So if I go to lesson information over here, I can see that the class that I gave him one trophy, the class was 34 minutes and 29 seconds. I can see if I gave him an after class evaluation, and if I forgot or if I didn't have time, I can go and do that. I can give him stars and give him a comment. I can go to teaching reports, which is really cool because you can do two amazing things here. Number one, if we forgot where we finished off our last lesson, we can go to our Blackboard over here and we can click on highlights, and then we go back, and for example over here I can see that the last page that I was on page 30. So let's say that it's come to the end of the day, I forgot to write down what page I finished with him and I want to do his after class reports. I can navigate to the teaching reports and see where I finished off and then give him an accurate report instead of guesstimating where it was that I finished, or doing the really unprofessional thing of after the class typing in the chat box, finished on page 30. Then we can also go to create. We can create lessons for our students, right? And then I don't really use any of this other stuff over here. but I do use AI speaking practice. And AI speaking practice is kind of like Duolingo. I have a video on how to use the AI speaking practice, which I'll link in the description below. But basically think of it like Duolingo for your students, where they can practice either words or sentences after the class, and you can see a cool score on it. It's a really great tool to help your students practice. Right, so that's basically all we need to know about entering the class. So next up is to-do. What to-do does is basically gives us a to-do list. If we've assigned any kind of homework for our students and given them a deadline, it will show up over here. So as you can see, these two teachers have assigned homework for their students and they're waiting for them to be done. In fact, their homework is overdue. If we go over here, we can see that there are 468 scheduled to-do assignments. Those include classes as well. So it's basically just giving us a breakdown of all the things that are coming up and all the assignments that are scheduled. And then of course, if we click on done, we can see all the assignments that have been completed in case we want to go back and double check. Moving on from there, we have our calendar. So calendar is pretty interesting because it gives you an overview of the classes that you have for the month. If you take a look at the calendar, if I hover over it like this, it gives me numbers. So it will tell me, okay, on Monday, I have 13 classes, on Tuesday, 6 classes, and so on. If we click on a specific day, we can see the classes that are scheduled for that day. And that's it. That's basically all we need to know about calendar. If we scroll down over here, you can see an overview of the next week, but it's very confusing. Right, next up we have Drive. Now, this is super important, so pay attention to this. Once we click on Drive, it's going to take us to this file, which is the things that we've used recently. These things here at the top, that's recommended, that has nothing to do with us, right? Most teachers never use Teacher In, and unless you're teaching geometry or something along those lines, you're probably never ever going to touch these. So just ignore that. What we want to do is first we want to go to Org Drive. Org stands for organization. And here, if we work for multiple schools and multiple schools have different content that they've uploaded, we can access and select that content from here. So for example, Eureka ESL has their own content, and we have another company that we work with called FreeTalk. Once we've selected the correct school, we can go down here to courseware. And once we've selected courseware, we can see all the different courseware that the school has uploaded. We can switch while we're in the file, click on courseware again, and you can see this is the courseware that we've uploaded. This part here is for the schools to use. So we wouldn't necessarily create or upload anything here unless we wanted to share it with the team. But even then, if we try to do it, sometimes they block it because it needs approval from the actual school. If we want to upload resources for ourselves to use, then we're going to go to My Drive. In My Drive, you can have your own files, your own PDFs, your own Blackboards, your own videos. Basically anything you want to use for your classes will be in My Drive. You can create files by clicking the Create button. So it gives you the option to create folders, prep packages, Blackboard notes, a whole bunch of things. Or you can upload files from your computer. So let's say you have a video saved to your computer, you can upload it onto ClassIn and then access it from your drive. And then we've spoken about recents already, but what's really great about it is, let's say you have multiple lessons where you're teaching the same content or want to use the same picture. It's a lot easier to navigate here to find that content than it would be to go to your files and have to go to culture training and then look for all the different files. So that is our drive files. It's probably one of the most important. If we move on, we have Blackboard. Blackboard is where you can simulate teaching. You can see that it basically just gives you what your Blackboard would look like. What's really cool about it is that you can simulate teaching from here. There's no time limit, but you can practice what you need to, but you can practice content, you can practice teaching content, and you can create Blackboards from here. Mirroring is if we are working on a smaller device and we want to put it onto a larger screen so it doesn't really hurt our eyes, we can do that from here. I'm gonna give you a pro tip. Let's say, for example, you forgot that you had a class and you're at a mate's house. You can go and use their TV screen and cast your class onto the TV screen using mirroring. That way you're looking at a bigger screen, but you're not straining your eyes on your small phone. It's a tool that you can use, but I wouldn't recommend it. Next up, we have our profile. Your personal profile is going to show what you've paid for. I've upgraded to the pro version, which I don't use anymore because we have a company account. But again, since we have a company, we take care of all of that. So generally speaking, this doesn't really matter unless you're private teaching students. What we do want to worry about is my profile. Another pro tip is that your students will go and check out your profile, especially if they've been using ClassIn for some time, or teachers who haven't been using ClassIn for a long time. They won't fill out any of this information. A lot of companies, when they hire you, they will check to see if you filled this out, just to tell if you've been using the app for a long time or not. So take the time to fill out all of your personal information. You can choose whether you want to show it or not. Then we've got account security. It's pretty simple. Next up, we've got system. Here's where things get interesting. Obviously, you want your system to be in the home language that you speak. As for notification sound, once you start using ClassIn for an extended period of time, it has a really annoying sound that drives people insane. So initially, for new teachers, or if you're using the app at first, I would suggest that you turn it on and turn on your lesson notifications and your activity notifications. Turn those on if you're new. If, like me, you've been teaching for 10 plus years, the sound wakes you up while you're sleeping. It plays in the back of your mind. So yeah, don't turn that on. Run when startup. So I suggest turning this off, because if you have it on and you have a slightly slower computer, it will slow down your computer even more. Hide the whole tray. So that means that when you minimize ClassIn, it hides the whole screen. You don't want a little pop-up in the corner of your screen all the time. Auto login you can turn on, especially if you've gone through the 3-step verification for your accounts. Then we have eye care mode. This is super important. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it on my screen. If I turn off eye care mode, there's the blue light that comes from your computer. This can be really harmful and damaging for your eyes and for your skin. So if you teach 5 or 6 or 7 lessons one after another, your eyes and the back of your head are really going to be feeling super painful. However, if you turn this on, it gives your computer screen a nice warm yellow light that's a lot easier on the eyes and doesn't strain them as much. I promise you, this one change will change your life. It really did mine. As soon as they introduced it, I was so happy. So make sure to turn this on. You don't need to worry about high DPI or any of these other tools, right? If you have problems with your ClassIn, if it's completely gone to the dogs, you can repair the registry, you can repair the hardware, report the software. But I promise you, for the most part, you're never gonna touch any of these. So don't stress about that. If we click on Classroom, we can set the screen recording area. So if we click on this, we can set to current classroom window, or if we wanted to record the entire desktop or just the mini classroom window. This is for if you're recording your classes. For the most part, the company that you work for is going to be recording the classes, so we don't really need to worry about that. Recording resolution. So obviously we want it to be the highest frame rate we can possibly set, but I'm just letting you know that if you're recording and you've set it to the higher frame rate, it can possibly slow down your computer. So just make sure to check that. You don't have to worry about recording code or recording mode. None of that will make any difference to you. Other settings, this is if you're using your tablet or your iPad as your main teaching device. Stylus pen pressure is if you press harder, the lines will be thicker, softer, the lines will be thinner. So for the most part, doesn't really matter, right? Same for the rest of this. This is mostly to do with if you're using a tablet. Over here where it says enable microphone enhancements at music mode, do not turn that on. What this does is it allows your microphone to pick up all the sounds around you so that you can hear music playing or sound in the background. Because the ClassIn added features, it blocks out any background noise for you already. So if you turn that on, basically it's turning that off. So yeah, it can create havoc for your classes. So make sure to leave that off. Then we have device check. Right here in device check, you can see we have system, camera, speaker, and microphone. So I'm going to run through the device check with you today. It might fail some of mine because I'm recording while I'm doing this, but yeah, basically what you want to do is before you start doing anything with ClassIn, absolutely anything, you want to do your device test. This should be number one. So we're going to click on Start Test. Our first one is a system test. It's going to see what operating system you have, your processor, which is really important. Make sure it's an i5 or higher, or Ryzen 5 or higher, how much cache space you have available, your network latency, and your packet loss rate. So you want your network latency to be kind of where mine is. You can see it's in the green right now, where it can be between 7 and I think like 35. Once it starts going higher than 35, once it gets to like 60, 100, it turns yellow. And once it goes over 100, it turns red. This is your Wi-Fi. This shows you how strong the connection is with your Wi-Fi. And if you don't know, you need fiber Wi-Fi to teach online. Hotspotting or anything like that is completely unreliable. So yeah, make sure it's fiber. Packet loss rate, we want to be at 0%. Packet loss is if there is any delay in your classes. If your packet loss goes up, then that means that there is a slight delay and you will essentially start talking over your students and vice versa. We don't need to worry about server, client, or CDN. So everything over here looks okay. We're gonna go next. Now we're testing our camera. So over here, you can see we have a drop-down menu where we can select different cameras that we have available. I can see myself in the camera, right? So I'm gonna click Able to View. Next up, we're testing our speakers. So what's gonna happen is it's gonna play a sound. We need to choose what sound it is. And then if we heard the sound, we can say Able to Hear. So let's play the sound. So to me, it sounded like a doorbell. I'm gonna select Able to Hear. Okay, next up we have microphone. So this part is going to be a little messy because I'm currently using an external microphone. So as soon as I click on a different microphone, there's gonna be a lot of reverb. But basically what it does is it's going to test if it can hear my voice. You'll see that there will be a little sound bar over here that moves up and down. And once I speak for 5 seconds, I'm gonna select Able to View and Hear. Okay, so let's test that out. Wow, and we actually got normal for everything. I didn't expect that to go as well as it did, but hey, it works. This is what you want. If you get any abnormal, right, it'll be red and say abnormal. If you get any of that, you need to check those features. Either you might need to get a new microphone, you might need to select different speakers, different camera. If you have abnormal for system, it's probably your Wi-Fi. All right, moving on, we have file transfer. If we have big files that we want to upload, we can do that here. We can upload files from our computers to ClassIn here. What we can also do is clear our cached files. Now, as you can see, I have a gig of cached files. Once I select clear, it's going to want me to restart my computer, so I'm not going to do that now. But as a general tip, this can slow down your ClassIn and it can slow down your computer. So it's a good idea for you to check this regularly to see that it's not too full. All right, and then if we go to About, it tells us about our current ClassIn version. We can check for updates, but usually you'll see a little red dot and it'll tell you that your ClassIn needs to be updated. Help Center takes us to the ClassIn website where we can read their files. Their files haven't been updated to the 6.0 version, so they still tell you about the previous 5.0 version. So extremely helpful. Switch accounts is for if you have multiple accounts, and then exit is to close or exit the app. Right, and with that, let's get to our actual class. Okay, so when it comes to our classes, you can see over here that this is the current class that I'm going to be going into. About 20 minutes before the class is about to start, I can enter it. And if you want, you can do this and prepare your classes that early. But yeah, the class does open 20 minutes before. It tells me that the class is going to start in 9 minutes and that there should be 4 students who are entering the class. As you can see over here, this class is in 8 hours and 9 minutes, and it's giving me the time in my local time. All right, so it gives us all of the information. It tells us who the teachers are. And sometimes if we click on the class, your school or the company that you work for can also give you more information in the description at the top. So let's go to the class that we're going to be having today. If we click the enter button to enter the class, it's going to take you to the screen over here. This screen is basically where you can check that all your hardware is working. So my camera is working, but I don't want that on when I enter the class. So I'm going to disable that. Microphone is working because I can see the line moving up and down, but I don't want that on. Right, and then speakers will be the default, so it'll either be in your earphones or it will be coming from your computer or your iPad or your tablet. As we enter the class, the first thing that we want to go and see is over here. If we hover over this signal bar, it will tell us about our signal in the area that we're in. So as you can see, it says that my network status is excellent. The latency is really good. There's no packet loss. And then it has CPU. CPU is how hard my computer is working while running this app. Right now you can see it hovers between like 9 and 15%, which means it's not really working too hard. However, if it starts getting to 50, 60, 70, 80, that means that your processor is not strong enough and you need to use something else. Here you can see that it's giving us information about the class that we're in, so the class that I started. And then it says about to start. So here you can see the timer is counting down. Once the class has started, it will change from about to start to started, and the timer will be moving forward. Over here we have our microphone. We can just click on this to allow students to hear us speaking. We've got our camera to allow students to see us. Then we've got our record button over here. If we click on record, it gives us the option to record our classes. Again, we do need a stronger processor to do this. If I click on the record button, another pro tip that I have for you guys is that you don't want to record your files in FLV. These are really hard to send to people because a lot of people don't have the correct FLV reader, and they're also hard to edit with. So you want to change it from FLV to MP4. And then you can select the file that you want to save it into. Next up, we have our settings. So if we click on these 4 dots over here, we have settings, classroom layouts, quick help, and pin. Let's start off with classroom layouts. Now with classroom layouts, it's usually set to no layouts, but I like to have mine set to a 3-screen split. If you want more information about how to do this, I have a link which I'll put in the description of another video that I've made. Then we have settings. Let's start off with our general settings. We always want our class to be in standard mode and not in large screen mode. Large screen mode is great for iPads or tablets because your toolbar over here is like a floating toolbar. It's like a big circle, like a spiral circle, and you can access your tools from there. It's great if you're using a stylus pen. Not so great if you're using a mouse and you don't want to be moving too many things around. But obviously each person has their own taste and their own style. Try it out. I personally don't like it. Then we've got show, right, or seating area. So if we click show, it shows us the students and the teacher at the top. If we click hide, it hides the students and the teacher. Obviously we don't want this. This is where the app being made for Blackboards in schools comes into play. So yeah, we want to show the students who are in the class. Over here we have focus mode. I have a video on focus mode, but to give you a brief rundown is, if you have focus mode on, this means that your students can't minimize the screen. They're locked into the classroom. As soon as they enter, they're locked in. So they can't go play games on the tablet or scroll through Xiaohongshu or whatever. The only time that you're going to lose their attention is if they're looking at another device that they have nearby. They are locked inside. So make sure to turn that on. It's such an amazing tool. Prompt for hands up. If your students click the hands up button, if you have multiple students in a class, then you can select the sound that it makes. For my South African friends, doesn't this sound like Woolies? Anyway. Right, and then notifications for entering and leaving class. Yeah, turn this on because it'll notify you when your student comes in and goes out. Camera settings, choosing a different camera. Audio settings for selecting your microphone and your speaker. Nothing hard here. I've selected background noise reduction, right? This is great. Don't select music mode. Then we have a virtual background. Okay, so for virtual background, what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click on myself at the top here, and I'm going to pull myself down onto the screen. Right, left click, drag down. I'm going to turn my camera on so that you can see how this looks. So for the most part, the background blur is really helpful. As you can see, it blurs out a little bit of background and it doesn't make my hands disappear. That's great. However, if we use any of these other tools, because I don't have a green screen behind me, my hands start disappearing, or at least my fingers start disappearing. And you can imagine how this could be a little troublesome for some of our students. If you're seeing a younger student for this first time and you wave to them and your fingers disappearing, they're gonna freak out. So yeah, unless you have a green screen behind you, don't use this. And then next up we have classroom background. So classroom background is basically the background that we can see on our class when we enter. We can change them to different colors and to different styles. Again, you can see that that ClassIn was made for Chinese students because this is what they use to learn how to write pinyin. I generally tell my teachers that I want them to have a brighter background, something like this. And I tell them that for two reasons. Number one, when your students come into the class and they have the Blackboard, if they've had classes with other teachers before, they might relate that Blackboard to those classes and give them negative feelings. I like to have my Blackboards colorful and welcoming, something like this. I generally prefer lighter colors like whites or light blues or light greens because it also provides a light on your face. So if you don't have good lighting, like from a window, or you don't have a ring light, this can help. It can light up your face by having a whiteboard. If you have the Blackboard, your screen is not as bright. You can also upload your own Blackboards. They have to be within specific dimensions, so they have to be less than 1 megabyte. You can generally create your own using Canva or just download something off the internet. All right, and that's it when it comes to all of our settings and special tools that we can use before our class starts. Now let's move on to the tools that we use during our class. So on the right-hand side over here, you can see we have our tools. I'm going to jump around with the tools that I use, and I'm going to do that for a specific reason. Let's start off with the draw tool or our paint tool. If we click on that, it takes us to a screen that looks like this. The first part is the line thickness, how thick or thin our lines are going to be. Then we have solid or dotted lines. So to give you an example of that, right now I have yellow selected and we have a solid line. If I change it to a dotted line, it looks something like this. We can select to draw straight lines. Or circles, or squares. And then of course we can change the colors. If we go to our erase tool, we can erase everything that we've drawn on the board using the flexible line. Any solid shapes or lines cannot be erased. So in order to erase those, we have to select our grab tool. We can highlight them, and then we can scroll across to the delete button here, or we can click delete on our computer. Another great thing that we can do with the grab tool is select our shapes and move them around on the Blackboard. We can increase the size of the shape by grabbing these buttons over here, the little circles, and then we can also change the color of the shape, or we can fill the shape. We can also lock the shape to its current position. So now if we try to grab it or move it, it doesn't move anywhere. We can duplicate the shape, and then we can also change where the shape is if we want it to be pushed to the back or pushed to the front. Then of course we have our text tool, which is for writing. It's pretty simple, right? Same thing. You can click and tap with the text tool. When you highlight it, you can change how big or small the writing is, and then you can change the color of the writing. You can also lock your text in place, just as you would with the shapes. Next up, we have our screenshot tool. If we click on the screenshot tool and then we click on screenshot over here, we can take a screenshot of anything that is on the board. Simply left click, drag, and then click the OK button. Now you can see we've screenshot something on the board, and we can make it bigger or smaller. Then we've got our laser pointer. So as you can see over here, my mouse has a red circle around it. I've set that in my computer settings. If I select the laser pointer button over here, my students will be able to see a red dot floating around on their screen. This is great for highlighting certain images. So for example, let's say I have two circles and I say, what color is this? Right? Then they can see that I'm circling around the blue circle. Right? If this is turned off, the white box has disappeared and now it's off. Now the student can't see what I'm highlighting. Next up, we have our drive files. So our drive files are exactly the same as the drive files from our home screen. You have your org drive, my drive, and your recents folder. So on ClassIn, you can only use two types of files. You can use PPTs or you can use PDFs. So let's open both and take a look at how they differ. So this is a classic PDF and this is a PPT. PDFs, if we click on this button and we open them across the whole screen, you can see the text stretches and it makes everything bigger. However, PPTs, if we open them across the whole screen, they don't stretch and the text doesn't get bigger and it has these black lines on the side. This is the size of all PPTs. They also have another key difference. If we're taking a look at PPTs, if we use our pointer tool and we click on the PPT, nothing happens. We can scroll down to go to the next page. If we use PPTs and we click on the PPT, we left click on the PPT with the pointer tool, it takes us to the next page. The pointer tool can also play animations. So you see, as I hover over this, it shows that there's an animation. If I click it,
Unit 1.
It plays the animation, right? I can also scroll using the arrows at the bottom. But generally, if I want to play any embedded animation, I have to hover over it. It's the same for if we have videos. So over here, there's a video file. If I click the play button, it takes me to the next page. However, if I hover over it using the pointer tool, it plays the video. So that's the biggest difference between the two files. PDFs have no animation, so we can just scroll up and down. Whereas PPTs, they have embedded animation, and we need to be using the pointer tool instead of using the scroll button, or instead of trying to scroll or using the navigation buttons at the bottom. This is really, really important, and a lot of teachers make this mistake. Then we've got our toolbox. If we click on our toolbox, we can open files here, right? So we can upload files that we've saved on our computer and put them in our class. So if we forgot, let's say, for example, we downloaded a video we wanted to use for our class, but we forgot to upload the video onto ClassIn, we can access it from here. We can save and share our Blackboards. If we create Blackboards, we can save and share them from here. We can share our desktop. So if we want to play games like on Kahoot or Bamboozle, we want to play with the students, we can do that here. It has a built-in dice tool if you want to play snakes and ladders. It's got a poll, so if we have multiple choice questions, we can select the poll, select the correct answer, and start the poll. So once we start the poll, we can see this. This tells us which students have answered the questions. They can't see this part. What they see is this. They'll get a box. It's not blue like this. It looks like the ClassIn app, you know, black and gray. But basically, it'll just have the options A, B, C, or D. They can select one, and then it'll show us what they selected over here. They don't need to have permission in order to select an answer. Right, we also have a stopwatch, a timer, and a randomizer. The randomizer is if you have multiple students in a class and you want to select one, hit the lever and it'll choose a random student. And then if we click this button over here, you can see that it has many more tools. You can go through the tools. None of the things that you press there are going to break ClassIn. So go through them, play with them on the Blackboard. Nothing bad is going to happen. If we click on LMS, it takes us to the back end of the current class that we're in. I don't really understand what we would use this for, but yeah, it's there if you want to use it. You might want to show your student that they have had however many classes, so it's not really helpful to us. Notes is really helpful because we can take notes here. It takes a screenshot of the moment that you took the notes, and then we can type whatever it is that we want to remember about the class here. And then when we go to the after class reports in the enter class screen, we can see what notes we'd written down for that class, and your student can see it as well. The chat box is where you can communicate with your students. Pro tip is that if you type in English, your student can translate in Chinese. And if your student types in Chinese, you can translate to English just simply by right-clicking on it and selecting translate. And then finally, we have our student list. So student list is pretty interesting. In your student list, you can see who were the students who were supposed to be in the class, right? So you can see that there were 3 students who were supposed to be in this class. If they're on stage, that means that they're at the top and you can see them. If they are authorized, that means that you've given them permission to write on your board by hovering over their face and clicking the crown button. You can mute your students. You can check if their microphones are on and working. You can check if their cameras are on and working. And you can see how many rewards you've given the students. You can also see how many times they've raised their hands. You can start a private chat with one of your students. You can see what device your students is using. This is really helpful if you feel like your students is leaning really close to the screen. It'll tell you whether they're using an iPad or an iPhone or a desktop. So if you see the iPhone symbol, it'll be the Apple with the phone symbol, and a pad will be an Apple with the iPad. You might need to make the text on your screen bigger just for that student. It's helpful, especially for the eyes. I think that's one of the #1 complaints that we get from parents is, oh, what about their eyes? So yeah, we can check this and make it bigger. And then finally, of course, we have remove, where you can remove your student from the class for whatever reason. All right, and that is it for our ClassIn tutorial. I really hope it was helpful, guys. Please like, subscribe. It gives me motivation to make more of these videos. It already took me 1 year to make this, mostly because I've really had a lot of hope for the ClassIn app, hoping that it gets better, which it really hasn't. I hope the next update will be better, but yeah, we push through. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one.